On Tuesday, June 13th, 2023, Lynwood Washington Police Department detectives announced the arrest of 3 individuals in connection with the Spruce Park homicide that took place on July 14th, 2022. That night, responding officers found 2 male victims, juveniles, 15-year-old Titus Goodwin Linville and 16-year-old Jesus Sanchez Jr., with life-threatening gunshot wounds in that Spruce Park. They believe the shooting took place at around 9:15 p.m., and the victims were immediately transported to area hospitals where, unfortunately, they succumbed to their injuries. The shooting happened a little over a year before arrests were made, and Detective Satterov with the Lynwood Police Department, along with other investigators who had reported to the shooting in that Spruce Park neighborhood at around 9 o'clock that evening, interviewed many witnesses, people who were on scene and in the surrounding areas who heard the gunshots. Witnesses said they saw a distinct, older, black and white SUV pull up to the park, heard what sounded like gunshots, then saw 2 juvenile victims fall to the ground before the vehicle sped away. One witness believed he saw 2 people in the car, although he could not make out the back seat due to tinted windows. However, another witness who gave a similar statement but believed she saw 4 people in the vehicle. Detective Satterov was able to locate that vehicle using street camera CCTV footage. The vehicle, with the distinct black and white color, as well as Detective Satterov being able to match the license plate number, was identified as an older Chevrolet Tahoe, which was registered to one of the suspects. As witnesses described the attack, they described it as the vehicle entering the park, a male from the back seat described as Hispanic around the age of 15 to 19 with, quote, a shiny bald head, stated, quote, "What's your set?" and, quote, "Where are you from?" One of the victims responded, "South Side Locos and South Everett Click," and the other said, "What's up, homie? What's up?" The male in the vehicle, who had a black bandana in his right hand holding his gun, interviewees said then didn't even hesitate and fired 2 shots at the juveniles, and they quickly fell to the ground bleeding. The girlfriends of one of the witnesses also noted the shooter had a tattoo on his right arm with words surrounded by clouds, and the brand of t-shirt was identified as a common one that was worn by gang members. The suspects, quickly identified as gang members Jose Alfredo Beteran and Christian Giovanni Chavez, were identified as the active adult shooters, but there was also a 16-year-old unnamed juvenile, and he was unnamed because of his age. 2 aggravating factors were believed to have really what caused this violent act, and that was the perpetrators of this crime heard that a rival gang, the Side Locos gang, were tagging at that Spruce Park, and this was also a part of the initiation for the 16-year-old. The Side Loco gang, which dates back decades, are primarily out of Oakland with loose ties to better-known Sureno cliques. They are mainly active along International Boulevard between 53rd and 57th Avenues. However, they have spread all along into Concord, California, which is about 27 minutes away from Oakland, which is the largest populous city in Contra Costa County. They have a strong presence in Washington State, and they have a presence in the state of Oklahoma. The Side Locos are just an example of the growing threat of gang violence and how violence has begun to take over serious areas in California, Washington State, and even Midwest states. The Side Locos were even able to stand out amongst some of the other very well-known Sureno and Norteño cliques when an indictment came raining down on their heads in September of 2020, showing a massive drug ring that was taking part, moving heavy weight in heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine. The group took over a shopping center, which was basically turned into an open-air drug market with gang members out front shooting social media videos, wearing t-shirts representing their clique, and anyone who was not welcome was dealt with.
Setting us up. 5 de mayo aquí representándonos a Side Locos. Es que no se miró nadie. No se asustaron, no se miró nadie. Nobody Locos 5700 Floyd. Southside Sycamore Street.
What's up, Cholos?
Sureno va siempre ese. 1-3.
What's up, dog? Look at the firme placazo right here at 53rd Black, 5 de Mayo.
Flowers and pictures that briefly stood as a roadside memorial to 16-year-old Jesus Sanchez Jr. are now in his mother's living room.
Yo soy la mamá.
The city doesn't want a public memorial for fear of retaliation. This family is now grieving in private.
What's the point?
What do you mean?
Of all this gun violence, just killing and killing.
25-year-old Roberto Cuadros lost his little brother in that shooting. 15-year-old Titus Goodwin Linville was also killed.
We're devastated that they're still out there. They're still doing harm to other families. We just hope they get them and they get what they deserve.
Lynwood police calling the murders gang-related.
All these mothers, families, they're just gonna be hurt.
Both teens were Lynwood High School students, both shot from a moving vehicle.
I think he was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Tuesday, police seized this 96 Chevy Tahoe, believed to have been used in the shooting, but have yet to arrest a suspected killer.
I just hope they catch him and they get justice, because a lot of kids out here, they want to feel safe, but they can't because of all the shootings.
Mom Rosa Camunas is heartbroken again. This is the second son she's lost to gun violence. 19-year-old Raul Cuadros was shot and killed in Everett in 2019.
Estoy mal.
I'm not doing well.
Y pues tengo que hacerme fuerte también por ellos.
But I have to be strong for them, she says in Spanish. But the truth is, it's something very painful.
Muy doloroso.
Tonight, this mother is mourning 2 sons.
Pues él era un niño.
He was a calm kid, she says.
Muy amoroso.
Very loving, friendly, and had lots of friends. Everyone loved him.
Todos lo querían.
A memorial in her living room for 2 boys, shot and killed for a reason no one can justify. In Lynwood, Sebastian Robertson, King 5.
Alfredo Beteran and Christian Giovanni Chavez have been charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder in connection with the deaths of 15-year-old Titus Goodwin Linville and 16-year-old Jesus Sanchez Jr. The court documents shedding light on how the teenagers died, accusing Beteran, Chavez, and a teenage suspect of driving to Spruce Neighborhood Park and opening fire on the 2 teens on July 14, 2022. Lynwood police calling the killings gang-related. Chavez appeared in court yesterday. He pled not guilty. His bail was set at $2 million. Beteran was supposed to be in court today, but his defense attorney argued successfully to shield their client's identity, entering a not guilty plea on his behalf. In a 2022 interview, the family of Jesus Sanchez Jr. hoping this day in court would come.
We just hope they get them and they get what they deserve.
Cornelius Hawker, King 5 News.
The suspect, who is a minor, will go through juvenile court for his alleged involvement.
Investigators say the far-reaching criminal enterprise was headquartered at Monument Plaza in Concord. KPIX5's Juliet Goodrich is there now. Juliet?
And I'm in the middle of this shopping center where all of this illegal activity went down. And look, in broad daylight, very busy. This alleged gang really was no stranger to this area, and that is why the crackdown happened. State, local, and federal officials joining forces. They called this Operation Boulevard Blues. FBI agents say the Sureno gang members took control of this shopping center parking lot and others, turning them into a one-stop shop for guns and drugs.
The defendants are alleged to have sold methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and firearms in Concord, Pleasant Hill, Brentwood, and elsewhere in Contra Costa County.
26 defendants in custody, 74 guns seized or purchased by undercover law enforcement agents, including AK-style assault weapons and so-called ghost guns. The FBI says the firearms sold have been linked to shootings and homicides in Concord and Richmond.
These cold cases from 2014 and 2015 actually involve multiple Sureno gang members. 3 of the homicides occurred in Concord and 1 in Antioch.
The guns and drugs allegedly sold in broad daylight and in public spaces, a shock to some who live and shop in the area.
I'm a little surprised just because we're here a lot and we've never noticed any activity at all.
This Safe Streets Task Force started back in April 2019 because of problematic gang activity.
When gangs become established in our neighborhoods, the public and our most vulnerable are the ones who get caught in the crossfire and suffer the consequences.
Today, Concord is safer, families are safer, kids are safer.
Yeah, Juliet, this is a pretty large-scale crackdown for Contra Costa County. Have they seen anything on this magnitude before?
You know, they had a similar crackdown a couple of years ago, a rival gang then, and they were able to make dozens of arrests. Fast forward 2 years now, and they have this other gang that's come and erupted in this Contra Costa County area. What they're trying to do is disrupt the gangs, and they do believe they have the ringleaders behind bars.
All right, Juliet Goodrich reporting live from Concord.
Sureno Street gang members arrested in Concord. 26 suspected members and associates have been charged with serious crimes, including murder. The FBI and Concord police-led operation brought forward Contra Costa homicide investigations to a close. According to prosecutors, authorities served 34 search warrants across the Bay Area in recent weeks and seized 42 guns.
Today's charges are the results of the efforts led by the ATF and the Concord Police Department, working with the FBI, DEA. Today's charges demonstrate the power of federal and local law enforcement operations.
The attorney says the gang had taken a shopping center on Monument Road in Concord and turned it into a, quote, one-stop shop for guns and drugs.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys for checking out the channel. Tried to get you guys this one out yesterday. Just didn't have time. Had some stuff going on this weekend. But we're bringing you guys this one today. Super excited. We're going to be talking about SSL, or the Side Locos gang. Originated in California, but has a strong presence. Obviously, the main story that we're going to be talking about, this is up in Washington State. They have a strong presence in California. I even was reading articles that they have now a presence in Oklahoma. And that article I read dated back to 2004. And they were labeled, that's 20 years ago, and they were labeled the largest Hispanic gang set in Oklahoma at that time. So they still have a presence there. And that's part of the reason I did this on this gang is, guys, honestly, I found a gang map on Reddit, okay, of gang territory. I click on it. I'm reading through, for whatever reason I stopped on Side Locos. All right. They're in this kind of East Bay area. They're in Oakland. Oakland's in Alameda County. 27 minutes away is Concord, California, which is where, when I briefly talked about the indictment at the end of the intro, that's that September 8th, 2020 indictment. That all takes place in Concord, California, which is the largest populous area in Costa County, California, okay? And basically, the Side Locos took over the shopping center in Concord, California, set up shop, open-air drug market, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, gun running. The numbers on how many were indicted or whatever, it was like 15 to 20-some-odd members. Operation Boulevard Blues is the name of the operation that brought it all down. But, yeah, these guys are no joke. And then you talk about the double murder up in Lynwood, Washington with just, it was 2 adults and 1 juvenile that took part in the shooting. But the 2 juveniles that are killed, and like I said, they're juveniles. They're not even adults. They're tagging. Tahoe rolls up, and it's such a distinct Tahoe. It's like, man, you commit a murder, and I would think, like, the 2 main adults, they were plenty old enough to maybe realize maybe we don't take a car with 2 different colors, right? And don't get me wrong, when you read about, like when I read about the two adults in this that were arrested, Jose Alfredo Berteran and Christian Giovanni Chavez, they had Chavez was arrested multiple times for the following incidences, right? So this is just between November of 2022 and April of 23. Attempt to elude, firearm possession by a felon, assault for DV, driving was suspended, driving under the influence, reckless endangerment, driving suspended, malicious mischief, theft 3. I mean, he's in and out of Snohomish County Jail. It says here, Betteron, who back in 2011, who was 16 at the time, okay? So these guys, even though they're in their mid to, late 20s, career criminals. Betteron, back in 2011, he was 16, was sentenced to 10 years in adult prison for an October 25th shooting of a 17-year-old boy outside Horizon Elementary School. This incident took place at the basketball court, and he actually ended up pleading guilty to first-degree assault. So they know what they're doing. They know what's going on. And, they said a lot of this was, yes, that the 2 young juveniles that were killed were tagging and all that stuff. And, but they also said that a part of this was the initiation for the 16-year-old juvenile who was unnamed in this. So Jose Alfredo Betteran, Christian Giovanni Chavez, along with 16-year-old juvenile, they hear about the tagging that's going on, 15-year-old Titus Goodwin Linville, 16-year-old Jose Sanchez Jr., and it's just kind of a combustion where you got 2 juveniles, no one's going to back down, things get said, and quickly a gun gets pulled out. But I guess I'm just thinking about, these guys they're just not very smart. I'm going to be honest. It's like you're in a 2 multicolored Chevy Tahoe. The plates come back registered to Betteron, so you take your own car to do the shooting. Not the smartest. I will say I'm surprised it took a year for them to get arrested. I guess, a lot of it those too when you're having a murder case, and I have, doing enough of these videos and reading enough about this stuff. Basically, detectives and police, they just like to make sure that what they've got, they want it to stick. They really, really want it to stick, especially when you're dealing with gang members, especially when you're dealing with people that have been through the criminal justice system. They're not going to talk. They're not just going to give you everything they want. And, but in this case, still winding its way through the court. I haven't seen anything about sentences or anything, but, just really interesting case because, like, when I looked up Lynwood, Washington, right, not what you would think as a strong Hispanic gang presence, not something that you look at and go, oh, yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of gang activity going on there and shootings and all that. So that's part of the reason I really wanted to cover this story. So read about that, okay, and, each of those guys were being held on $2 million bond. They're still fighting the case through this day. That really, really rocked the community because, like I said, that stuff does not happen up there. You can just tell reading through it, reading about Lynwood, Washington. It's not like, oh, another shooting occurred. It's like, no, that was a one-off, it doesn't happen like that. Yes, there's obviously some gang activity, drug activity, but, when I read about Snohomish County, they've been greatly afflicted by the fentanyl crisis. Everett, Washington, when you read up about that, they have a very serious drug problem. So kind of goes hand in hand with the gang problem. But again, that shooting to happen, the murder of 2 juveniles was very, very rare for that area. And that's a big reason I even chose to do this story. How it happened. But yeah, just really quick, man. Guys, please don't go out committing crimes. Please get straight, get sober, get your life, enjoy life. Peace is such a thing that people don't realize. As I get older, I'm in my 30s now, my early 30s. The one thing I want more than anything, and maybe you guys can speak to this, I just want peace in my life. I want to make money. I want to be successful. I really do. I really, really do. I'm kind of a workaholic. I feel like I'm driven, but at the end of the day, maybe because of a 10-plus year battle with addiction and being in and out of trouble and missing important moments and losing friends and family with choices I made, more than anything, I just want peace. And friends that I have that are still, I'm actually going to go to a basketball game here in a couple weeks with a friend who still struggles. He's been in and out of prison a couple times for robbery, theft. He's trying to recover heroin addict, and he struggles. We went to a football game about a month ago, and he's still using off and on, and just peace, man. Peace is so important, and you don't get that if you're not if you're not sober, as far as if you're still using drugs, if you're still doing things like that, guys. I don't care what they say, you're not gonna have the peace that one would hope to have. And if you've been through a lot, and if you're fortunate enough to come out the other end, and you're fortunate enough to get sober and get the people back in your life that matter, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Please comment down below. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Peace of mind, peace of self, being okay in your own skin. As addicts, we are never comfortable in our own skin. And for me, that was such a big thing, man. I couldn't live with myself with certain things. And it kept me sick for a very long time. And I know gang members the same way. You have this image, people expect certain things of you. And if you don't hold up that end, or people think like you're changing or acting better than them, I have that with friends and people I know that come from rough backgrounds. Me, I don't come from a rough background. I came from a good family, but guys that came up in the street that have respect and standing within gangs and stuff, it's not so easy. You compile that with a drug addiction, a drinking problem, keeps people sick and keeps people down for a very long time. So going on though, read about this indictment that came down September 8th of 2020 involving members of the Side Locos Sureno set. When I read about the Side Locos, it said that they were like loosely affiliated Sureno set. I really don't know what that means. I didn't say that they beef with a lot of other Sureno sets. It just says that they're loosely affiliated, like they're kind of like do their own thing. But don't get me wrong, they still fall under the umbrella of the Mexican Mafia. They still are a Sureno set. If these guys go to prison, they are clicked up. They're Sureno. They're running with Laime. They're in that group. I just thought that was interesting when I read that. If any of you maybe know more about that, comment down below on what that means. I saw that in a couple different articles I read. So loosely, I don't really get that. I just they're pretty prominent. I read, like I said, in Washington, California, and Oklahoma. That was so random to be in Oklahoma like that. But yeah, strong presence in Oklahoma. They were actually listed as one of the, maybe I already said this, as one of the biggest gang sets in Oklahoma. So this indictment that comes down, okay? Contra Costa County indictment comes down September 2020, Operation Boulevard Blues. They turned 1500 Monument Plaza in Concord, California into a one-stop shop for gang activity, high-level drug sales, and violence if necessary. I read through the indictment. They were able to break down the amounts sold, individuals who sold drugs, individuals who sold guns, and how long all this was going on for. The indictment gets unsealed on September 15th, 2020 in an Oakland, California courthouse. A federal criminal indictment was handed down by federal court judge Donna M. Rue. The case, an undercover operation into Sureno criminal gang activity, particularly against Side Locos members, started April 22nd, 2019, concluded a little over a year later on May 29th, 2020. The case was actually brought by the ATF, but when these things come down, guys, in the feds, you've got ATF, FBI, Safe Streets Task Force, the state level law enforcement, because those guys have all the CIs, they have all the undercover stuff going on. It's a group effort, to say the least. And like we talk about, man, if you're doing drugs, selling drugs, you're in a gang, people are going to snitch left and right. These guys had so many CIs, so many undercover. I don't know if you guys are watching the news or keep up on anything. I really try to. Do you guys see what happened with Little Dirk? He just got snitched on by his best friend, I think a family member. The guy wore a wire on Little Dirk for 2 years. Okay, and they tied it all back to the attempted murder of Quando Rondo and the murder of his friend in California, Little Pap. That goes back to the King Von shooting in 2020. My point is, there's nothing real out there anymore, guys. If you're a part of a gang and you see those interviews and you see guys, we're solid, we're holding it down, we're brothers, we're a family, everyone's going to tell, guys. Everyone's going to tell. Look at BMF. Big Meats just got out of prison. That guy is the closest thing to running a perfect organization that I've ever seen. And even him, they had a couple people that snitched. That guy took care of everybody. Everybody got money on a whole new level. He said that they shared everything, including their girls. Nobody was jealous. But at the end of the day, when the feds come knocking and you've got life hanging over your head, people are going to snitch. And it's absolutely no joke. And so it said that the SSL, the Side Locos, was a subset of the Surenos. They'd maintained a stronghold in the southern district of Concord for over 25 years. The particular area within the city of Concord, also referred to as, quote, the Boulevard or, quote, the Bully, consists primarily of the Monument Boulevard corridor and associated cross streets, which includes but is not limited to the housing and business complexes on Mikasa Court, Virginia Lane, Meadow Lane, Detroit Ave, Victory Lane, and Oakmead Drive. The Monument Boulevard corridor has also been utilized by the Sureno criminal street gang as a main thoroughfare for narcotics and firearms trafficking. Now, some of the guys wrapped up in this indictment: Luis Cruz, a.k.a. Cheetah, 24 years old; Luis Carranza, Chino, 31 years old; and Fable Gutierrez, Faja, 38 years old. Also, Angel Magana, a.k.a. Villain, 26 years old; Ernesto Misiego, a.k.a. Little Neto, 18 years old; Armando Navarro, a.k.a. Villon, 42 years old; Sheena Middleton, a.k.a. China, 35 years old; Luis Cabrera, a.k.a. Huero, 28; Francisco Cano, a.k.a. Vaca, 34 years old; and Christian Cervantes, a.k.a. Bam Bam, 23 years old. Oh, and also still wanted, Brian out of Varengue. I can't pronounce all these names, I'm sorry. And there were two brothers as well, Eric and Juan Carrillo, 25 and 23, and then the last one I saw, Kevin Vidal, 23. So they came down hard on these guys. These guys are all going to do serious time. Like I said, man, when you start taking over complexes, and let's just be honest, white people start getting mad, things are going to happen. When you're running an open air drug market, it's going to be all bad. They were Sureno subsets in Concord utilized the business complex at 1500 Monument Boulevard to, quote, post up, and this is all kind of in that indictment, and sell narcotics and firearms. Sureno gang members often refer to 1500 Monument as, quote, the box or, quote, the block, while numerous Sureno subsets operate out of 1500 Monument. It is primarily controlled by, yes, who we're talking about, the SSL, the Side Locos subset. Other Sureno subsets must get, this is crazy, they must get permission to sell drugs in the area from the Side Locos. They work cohesively in this area to further the enterprise of the Sureno gang as a whole. So I like reading that because it kind of puts what I'm talking about into perspective with loosely affiliated, but at the end of the day, no, they are affiliated. They are with the Surenos, and at the end of the day, it's about the cause. It's about the bigger cause. And remember, everything gets kicked up to the big dogs in prison. It is common for each member to operating at a particular time to have a distinct role. It's just like run like a Fortune 500, guys. That's what we always talk about. These big-time gangs, these big-time enterprises, as they call them in the feds, they are run like a well-oiled machine. One member may be in charge of hiding contraband in stash locations. One might be responsible for negotiating price, and another may act as a lookout during the transaction. And what brought all this down? Informants, undercovers, okay? They were identifying them as hand signs, as the coded messages, and then they talk about, the social media, music videos. Go on there right now. You can find the music videos. I can't play them on my channel for copyright issues, but it's all right there for the whole world to see. And I feel like social media is the worst thing a gang could use, but they use it as a way to flex, as a way to flaunt. And at the end of the day, it's like they can't help themselves, right? What's the fun in doing all these things, right? And being a badass and getting respect in the street if nobody knows. And that's kind of what's taken over now. The real ones move in silence. The real ones move in, absolute anonymity. If you're really about your money, let's just call it like it is. If it's really about the money, you're not going to want to be in a music video. You're not going to want to have a social media. You're not going to want to be tied up out front on the block, flamed up with all the blue on and flexing out. If you're really about the dough, you want to be behind the scenes. But unfortunately, man, you're risking your life every day. You're trying to get a name in the streets. Nowadays, it's about, showing off on social media and everything. But, anyway, there you guys have it. I really, really appreciate you guys so much. Just crazy how this thing has grown. We hit over 12,000 subscribers a few days ago. It means a lot. Now I'm really focused on the road to 15,000. So run these numbers up. Please comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the bell. And until next time, peace.